Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're tackling a question that is totally rewiring the rules of business. How do you actually put a price tag on something like clean air or a really good job? For centuries, figuring out a company's worth was pretty simple. It was all about profit. But that's changing. Now, pretty much everyone, we're talking customers, investors, even governments, they're demanding more. They want companies to be accountable for their total impact on all of us. So, what we're witnessing is this massive shift away from the old single bottom line, just profit, to what a lot of people are now calling the triple bottom line. The idea is simple, but also pretty revolutionary. It says that true value isn't just about profit anymore. It's about profit plus how a company treats people and impacts the planet. And this new way of keeping score, this new scorecard, well, it's all built around one central idea, measuring something we call social value. So what exactly is social value? Well, think of it as trying to put a number on all the things a traditional balance sheet just can't capture. We're talking about a company's real contribution to our well-being. Everything from creating high-quality jobs to protecting or maybe even harming the environment. Okay, but why is this happening now? What's the big deal? What's driving this huge global shift? Well, it really boils down to three powerful forces all pushing in the same direction. First up, and this one is huge, follow the money. The people who control the cash, the big global investors, are changing the rules of the game. They're making it crystal clear that a company's impact on society is no longer some fluffy, feel-good extra. They see it as absolutely fundamental to long-term success. And this is way more than just talk. The proof is in the numbers. This is the growth of what's called impact investing, and it has just exploded, rocketing towards 400 trillion won. That is a mind-boggling amount of money. Hundreds of billions of dollars, all flowing towards investments that are designed to make a measurable social impact right alongside a financial one. The second big force? Governments are stepping in. What you're seeing here from Korea is part of a much bigger global trend. What used to be a voluntary, nice-to-do thing is fast becoming a legal requirement. Starting in 2025, the biggest corporations will be forced to disclose how they're performing on all these other metrics. Now, you're going to hear this acronym thrown around a lot in this space, ESG. It stands for Environment, Social, and Governance. And honestly, it's become the main framework, the playbook that both investors and regulators are using to organize this whole conversation and to judge a company's performance beyond just the money.
But this leads us to the biggest challenge of all. How do you actually calculate the value of social good? This is where things get really fascinating and, frankly, really innovative.
The critical change is this move away from just telling nice stories, the qualitative stuff, to measuring things with cold, hard numbers. It's the difference between a company saying, hey, we planted a bunch of trees, and them actually calculating the monetary value of all the carbon those trees will remove from the atmosphere. The whole goal is to make social impact just as tangible as financial profit. So how do they do it? Well, a lot of experts use this kind of logic model. You start with an input. Let's say it's the money you spend on a job training program. That creates an output, like the number of people you trained. Then comes the outcome. How many of those people actually got jobs? But the real goal, the impact, is the broader societal change, their improved quality of life, for example. And then, that final crucial step. You assign a monetary value to all that positive change. Now, not everyone calculates this the same way. Think of it like different recipes for the same dish. To make this really concrete, let's explore two of the most influential recipes being used right now. First, let's peek into the corporate world. The South Korean giant SK Group pioneered a framework they call the double bottom line, or DBL for short. It's basically their system for measuring their performance in three key areas: their wider economic footprint, the social performance of their core business, and finally, their direct charitable giving. And the results are staggering. In 2023, SK Group calculated its total social value at 16.8 trillion won. But here's the most important part. This isn't just a number highlighting the good stuff. It's a net figure. They carefully add up the positives and then subtract the negatives, like their environmental costs. It's all about transparency. Okay, so that's a corporate approach. Now let's look at the government's playbook. This is the Social Value Index, or SVI, a tool designed specifically for social enterprises. And you can see their priorities right away just by looking at the points. Social performance is worth way more than economic or innovation performance. The message is loud and clear. And this scorecard, it isn't just for show. It has real consequences. It actually grades social enterprises, from needs improvement all the way to excellent. And that final grade is absolutely critical, because it directly determines whether they get government funding and support. For these businesses, a high score can be a total lifeline.
So we've got these big, impressive numbers and scores. But let's bring it back down to earth. What does all this actually mean in the real world? Why should we care?
Well, it matters a whole lot, actually. For the big corporations, these scores are now shaping their entire strategy. For social enterprises, it's how they unlock the funding they need to grow. For investors, it's a new tool to identify companies that are truly built to last. And for you and me, it gives us a whole new layer of information to help us decide where we want to work and which brands really deserve our money. Let's make this totally real with an example from SK Telecom. On one side, you see their positive economic contributions. That's the good stuff from jobs and taxes. But now look at the other chart, their business social performance. You see a positive value for the products and services, but then notice that last bar for environmental impact. It's a significant negative number. And that's the entire point of this exercise, radical transparency, showing the good right alongside the bad. At the end of the day, it all comes back to that classic business mantra, what gets measured gets managed. And that is the core belief driving this entire movement. The idea is that if you force businesses to put a number on their social impact, they'll be driven to manage that number. And hopefully, that leads to a better world for all of us. So the crucial takeaway here is that we're in the very early days of a fundamental rewiring of how we define corporate success. This isn't just about accounting anymore, it's really about accountability. And as this new scorecard for business continues to evolve, it leaves us all with a pretty critical question to chew on. What kind of world and what kind of companies will it help us build?